Hello and welcome to the Mental Wealth Channel. My name is Lexi, and if you or anybody you know is going through any mental health challenge, this is the space for you. Today, we're going to talk about unhelpful thinking styles, also known as cognitive distortions. This is 1 out of 8, and it's called emotional reasoning. In this video, I'm going to explain what it is. We're going to do a written exercise, and we're going to learn all about the antidotes on how to tackle this emotional reasoning from the root. So let's get to it. When a person experiences an unhelpful emotion, such as depression or anxiety, it is usually preceded by a number of unhelpful thoughts we call unhelpful thinking styles or cognitive distortions. One of the things that has been noticed about these unhelpful thinking styles is that they actually are an automatic habit. It's not something we're hoping to think. It's just an automatic pattern that comes up without us even thinking about it. When a person constantly and consistently uses one of these unhelpful thinking styles, it can cause a great deal of emotional distress. So let's get into emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning is a style of thinking in which we base our view of situations, ourselves, or others through the lens of how we are feeling. Have you ever felt anxious at a certain point in time and thought to yourself, oh, this situation is not going to work out, a situation that will happen in the future? You're anxious and you think that situation is just not going to work out. And then when you get into that situation, it ends up working out. So that is an example of you basing your view of what is happening on emotions. Because when you thought about the situation, you were feeling anxious and you were thinking, this is never going to work. But actually it did. So that is an example of emotional reasoning. And it's something that we have to be very careful about if we want to start feeling in ways we would actually prefer. So with emotional reasoning, we tend to take our emotions as being evidence for the truth. It is like we're telling ourselves, I feel, therefore it is. And I will repeat that. We tell ourselves, based on what I feel, therefore it is. When we base what is happening on our emotions, we are denying real evidence a lot of the times. There might be no other evidence other than what we're feeling to suggest that something dangerous might happen. The only evidence we might be using is how we feel. Now, I want to talk about having a hunch about something dangerous happening, but that actually comes from outside evidence. When we feel something dangerous will happen based on the circumstances that are happening around us, for example, you see somebody walking towards you angrily with a weapon, and then you feel something dangerous will happen, that we can fully trust because the evidence around us is telling us this is a dangerous situation that we need to get out of. Now, if it's the other way around, where there is no evidence that something dangerous will happen, but because of how we are feeling, we start thinking that is when it starts becoming a distressing pattern that causes us to feel negatively or in ways that we really don't like and would like to change. So I just want to emphasize that very important difference. Now, for the written exercise, we're going to try to remember a situation in which we used emotional reasoning. We're going to write the situation down, thinking what thoughts went through my mind and what feelings did we experience as a consequence of our thinking. So just try to remember a situation. If there is nothing that comes to mind and you can remember to watch this video or write down that we potentially could have this pattern of thinking, especially if we struggle with mental health challenges like BPD, anxiety, depression, bipolar, all of that. If we have those challenges, then it's likely that we will experience this in the future. So just keep your eye out, and if you don't catch it in the moment, that's totally fine. But if you keep practicing thinking about how we have different patterns of thinking, you will start to notice when you are ruminating. So now for the antidotes. And these are 5 examples on how to get rid of emotional reasoning. Number 1, just notice. Just notice. Don't try to change anything. Just start identifying. When you start feeling depressed or anxious based on your thoughts, just try to notice. Here I'm emotional reasoning. Here I'm catastrophizing. Any type of the 8 cognitive distortions. Just notice. 2, when you notice and you are aware, try to change your language. Instead of saying, I am anxious, or I am depressed, or I am unlovable, change the language and say, I am aware that I am feeling anxious. I am aware that I am feeling depressed. I am aware that I am feeling a low sense of self-worth, for example. We try to shy away from the I am and change that to I am aware. Now, after these 2, you can use the first 2 for a while and then add this step. Or if you feel comfortable enough, just add this step as soon as you notice. But for me, it takes a little longer. I just have to notice it first, and then I start adding the next steps. So the next step is to say to yourself, just because I am feeling this way doesn't make it true. And this is very important, and just repeat it. Just because I am feeling this way doesn't make it true. Now it starts getting a little bit more challenging, but with practice, we can do this. You can do this. You will start healing and start feeling in ways that you would prefer if you practice this. And like I've always said, it's not going to be perfect, but as long as you have the willingness and the desire to practice, so you can start feeling in ways that you would actually prefer rather than the ways that you don't prefer, we can continue with these steps. So the next step is to go to a place in your mind where you feel happy and comfortable. So when you notice the cognitive distortion, in this case, emotional reasoning, and you start feeling a certain way that makes you feel uncomfortable and that you don't prefer, when you notice it, you say, I am aware rather than I am. Acknowledge that just because you feel it doesn't make it truth. Now let's go into a mental exercise where you can start drifting in your mind. Take a break and start thinking about situations that you love and that make you feel good. You can even imagine the situation that you were already feeling bad about as going the best way possible. So just take 2-3 minutes to think about things and situations that make you feel ways you would prefer to feel. And the last one, all of these can be written exercises. You can check the facts. Make 2 columns. What am I feeling versus what is the truth? Or add in more details to the situation. I have a video to thoroughly check the facts and just a guided practice. And of course, Bonus, we can do a gratitude list, and we can also think and write all the ways in which we are absolutely amazing. And that gratitude is always going to be helpful. So get into your journal, think of why you're amazing, create the situations that you would prefer, check the facts, and try to give yourself for a few minutes or a few hours just a space to create the scenario that will cut those patterns of thinking so we can start feeling in ways we would prefer. You got this. You are amazing. Stay tuned for my next video on the next cognitive distortion, and I will see you soon.